Yo, what is up, guys? Mike Thomas, aka the Young Trishly here, and we did it again. That's right, we did it again, boys. We took down another event with our deck list, and this time it didn't even matter who won the finals. We knew our list was winning because me and Justin,
hi everybody,
we played the same deck card for card. We both made finals. So this is both the first and second place deck profile. Anything you want to say before we get into it?
the list felt good. There was some adjusting we had to do along the way because we were up super late just theorizing this.
As always.
The side deck is chaos, but it worked. Obviously, we both got to the finals. Yeah, deck's good.
I mean, the title of the deck on the Play Network was literally Josh somehow made this deck worse. Josh also played the same deck. He did not top though, and then he was like, "Yeah, no, I'm going to bed. I'm not recording." And we said, "Okay, fair enough." So Josh is here in spirit. Love you, Joshy.
Love you, Josh.
Let's hop into this. As all good decks begin with 3 of the bunny. Thoughts on bunny? Any thoughts? Please say
Bunny
no.
good.
Bunny
Good. Bunny
good.
frustrating to deal with. In this
Okay.
deck specifically, but yeah, bunny good.
Yes. So I actually lost a game early in the run so you guys will see this later when we get to the side deck. We tried a new siding pattern today, and after like round 1 or 2, I decided to completely abandon that siding pattern. I don't know if you did the same thing, but I realized that based on that siding pattern, we couldn't beat Rabbit after we sided, and it was really frustrating. So very good card. Maybe don't make the same mistakes we did. So some things are definitely changing from this list. But anything to add to that?
No, yeah. Nothing to add.
I don't know if you stuck to the plan. I know I didn't.
I stuck to the plan for a while. It just depended on the matchup, but I learned it worked except for like in the matchups that are very grindy. So the mirror match, the like lunar 5s variants, having to deal with the number 5 frequently can be very frustrating. So that's when I was like, okay, unfortunately we need to not get too lost in the sauce when it comes to playing these grind games.
Yeah. So that was Rabbit. Chick, nothing to say about Chick.
Yep, let's go. Chick is the best. Chick.
We got 3 Eddie. It's same as before. Eddie, formerly bad card, allegedly. Eddie's still good card. Eddie, it kills Blizz tricks versus that deck because you can Blizz and then Zeus down and walk over them, which is why we put it in the first place. But it's also just, I mean, it's an Eddie, man. Like, it kills the rabbits.
Yeah.
It kills everything. Like, it's a good card.
Exactly.
3 dog and a big dog. This card's still crazy, but this was the card that we were experimenting with siding out, and I did that like one time, lost to Rabbit in defense because I had no way to beat it, and I stopped doing that. So like, I don't know how much you took out Werepup, but I kept this card in all day.
For everybody at home, the concept coming into it was we knew Lunar Aggro was going to have such it'll have the target on it, and so everybody and their mother is going to have some kind of game plan to deal with Werepup. So our logic was, what if post side they put in all these cards for Werepup and then it's just not there? And it worked personally, but every game I was going first, I never took it out. There were occasions going second that depending on the matchup I would. They're my favorite cards. I love the lunar phases, I love the pups, so I'm biased, but yeah, these cards are insane.
Yeah, the thought was that we wouldn't keep this in the mirror, and then in the finals we both kept this in against each other. So
yeah,
like,
weird.
So much for that plan. Then some things don't change. This is very similar to the previous deck list, but we have changed some stuff. We have the Nobby Gator package. Nobby's still good. Nobby, better card on its own than expected. Nobby, like, just doing like water Nobby plus full moon is just broken. Like, this card's gross.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool little tricks you can do with the card, offensively, defensively, like you just said, with the water enchant, and then like battle step full moon to like play around tsunami and stuff, and like shield if they're like, they don't see what's coming. I really like the card. I still have the opinion that it feels awkward in the lunar matchups, just because so many people are doing what we've been doing, where not only do they main the specs, but they've been maining the galaxies, which was, the point of why we're about to talk about them. But the point of the cards were they're good stuff cards that felt safe to cast against Nobby. So now that more people are kind of taking those ideas as well, it still felt like it was a very powerful card, but it's not like you see it, you win, right? It's a timing thing.
So my opinion on this card changed like mid-tournament because I like came in with that like same philosophy, but I kind of just started saying, okay, my deck's just crazy. I'm just keeping the knobbies in like always. And I'm just going to run this card out and just like kill stuff because it's still a good card no matter what. And there's so many, like I won so many times just because I had like this plus like a full moon like post side because people weren't playing around it anymore. And it's just like, all right, I'll cast out Knobby with water. I'll swing. I'll full moon onto it. I'll, you know, kill, make a gator, punch. And just the damage that you get off of that is just crazy. So
yeah,
I stopped cutting this card. Like I'm just keeping it in. It's ignorant. The same 2/2 lineup as before. The dudes all stayed the same. Like all the main deck dudes were the same. So the same theory as before. We didn't want to lean too heavy in either direction, so it's just 3 Galaxy, 3 Spec.
Yeah, it just felt like the most versatile and consistent across the board because we didn't want to like sacrifice our main deck in a way that would make other matchups awkward to get like too techie. So the guys felt solid last time, and they felt great this time as well.
Ambrosia, if we find something to say about Ambrosia, I'll be shocked. Like Ambrosia. The first difference is we main deck 2 Cryoblast this weekend. We I think you kind of mentioned it before, but we expected a lot of people to be on Lunar Aggro. I don't know how many you played against. I played against like 5 or 6. I played
at least 1. I know I played against 2 decks with Werepup in it. I don't remember. It's all a blur. It really is. I'd have to really sit down, but at least 2 times I saw decks with Werepup, but I want to say at least 3 if you count you.
Yeah, I was counting you. Yeah, I mean, like, but the thing that was crazy with Cryoblast is even when I didn't play against Lunar decks, every deck I played against, no matter what it was, Cryoblast was good against, except for Blistrix. That was the only deck where I took this card out, and it didn't go up to 3 post side. Like, this card was insane versus every deck I played against.
Yeah, it was very good, and it's versatile too. Being able to like pseudo deal with rabbits by getting it down to a 3 defense makes it more manageable. It's more investment, but then, of course, we'll talk about it later. But when you pair it with Zeus, it's just Earthquake. So
yeah,
very good card.
Did you ever do that? Because I had one game where I like cryoblasted a rabbit to just punch it. Like I didn't even pop it. I just punched it.
I cryoblasted a couple of 5 defenders throughout the tournament just to be able to get over them. I cryoblast Zeus like I think at least once.
But, I did that like 3 or 4 times. Yeah. Like it kept coming up for me. So this stuff was like awesome. Earthquake, Laurels, nothing to say about them. They're limited for a reason. Zeus, this card should have never come back to 2 or 3. Like, I don't know why they gave us this back. Like, this card's broken.
Being at 3 isn't super relevant unless you're playing like Vol Tempest or something like that. But like, 2 is good enough.
I'm really curious to see if anybody was on Vol Tempest today because we were up until like 2 or 3 in the morning. Asking us like, okay, what's our out to Vol Tempest? Like, I don't know. We figured something out, but like at the end of the day, we were just like, you know what? If it happens, it happens. Like, whatever.
Really, the philosophy was like, obviously there could be the game where they just like have a Thunder Dude on the field, they hurricane you, then they go into Griffuse, Zeus, Ascend, and then now you just lost the game. And there's really nothing you can do about that. And then the only out to that is like weird 2-card combos. But at that point, it's like, you just do your best to always make sure guys are off the field so something like that doesn't happen.
Exactly. Like anything that like any out that we could have had, it just loses to like them setting up the thing anyway. So it's like, okay, we just lose. Like we're asking for the world. The next big change in the main deck is we played Poison Tip Arrow this time. Dymax really liked this card last time. He played like the Lunar 5s deck without like the Werepups and stuff. Instead of Alter, he was playing PTA. It was really good for him, and we didn't really like Alter too much, so we tried it out. It was really good for me. I don't know how it was for you, but
PTA was exactly as expected. It is one of those cards where, as I mentioned in our last video, I hated drawing it for turn into a board, which happened multiple times, but when you get it off, especially early, it's a very good card. I have no complaints about PTA. There was a lot of good moments for it and a lot of bad moments, but if I were to compare it to like Alter, I would say Poison Tip was applicable more often. So I think at the end of the day, Poison Tip did a good enough job without having to play any other wacky counter runes.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing that I found with Poison Tip that happened to me the most was that I was getting into these game states where like I would like go first, set Poison Tip, expend to draw, And then my opponent would play out like a beater that I didn't want to poison tip, like something that just didn't feel like it was worth poison tipping, like a Specterus or something, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm just gonna hold this and wait for like a werepup or a rabbit or something, because like I can kill your dude next turn, like no problem. And what ended up happening,
that's kind of how I was too,
is this card just sat in my back row all game, and I was like, that's awesome. So this card, like, it still kind of sucks, but like it does its job when it needs to. 2 Tsunami, pretty standard. All the counter runes are the same as before from here. It was just the same lineup. Nothing really to say.
Yeah, it was solid.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all the staple counter runes plus 2 full moon. So
yep,
that was the main deck. So the big changes were the Cryoblasts and the Poison Tips. I'm actually going to do the Spirit deck first before doing
I agree.
Yeah, because this is where stuff changed a lot and changed a lot of the side deck. So we were on 8 Owloon before. We're down to 7. Did you have any complaints about 7? 7 felt fine for me.
No, 7 felt fine, and there were games where I sided down to 6 because I would side out one of the packages, like the Nobbies or something like that. And even with 6, it felt fine. No, I don't think you need like 10 Lunar Spirits in your deck that I've seen a lot of people try.
I've seen that too, and it's just too much. But I think we can even go even further and go down to like 6. I guess like I knew this about this game, but like it never dawned on me that up to like with Full Moon, for example.
Right,
you can
to do
properly
for 0.
enchant and then enchant for 0 and just ascend. Like that never dawned on me before today.
Yeah.
Until somebody did it to me and I was like, oh my god, like that was an option this whole time. Because I don't know how many times like in the last tournament run I had this card set and I'm like, man, I really wish I could activate this, but I don't have the Lunar Spirits to enchant to my board.
No,
and it's just like
definitely yeah.
Oh. And it's just like, oh, I could have just been like, you can even like just misenchant cast this, which I never thought about like last time. So like I genuinely think we could go even further down on these and just like say who cares, like you don't need that much Lunar. But 7 felt good. The Water and Thunder are unchanged. They're both 4 or 5, and then 2 Terratless, pretty self-explanatory. The big change was that we played 2 Flurmine. I'll let you talk about this because I'm a big hater on playing 2 Flurmine for like 2 Cryoblasts, but like this is your pet theory.
So the logic was like, obviously we are siding the 3rd Cryoblast and it's nice having another target for it. That's all cool. But for me, there were a lot of games where I found myself constantly enchanting my guys with a Frost Spirit. And especially now that we were maining the Cryoblast and I assumed other people would probably be trying similar things, I knew that I would be wanting to cast my Lycan or even like my 5 guys sometimes, just throwing a Frost Spirit under it, because Cryoblast is a heck of a card and being able to play around it without turning off your other Cryoblast it's very important, and especially like I mentioned post side. And I don't know if you noticed, the spirit that we cut for that was the Wind Spirit, which we will talk about later.
So one of these is still for the Cryoblast. Like one of these is a Cryoblast Spirit. The other one is just a Like a Void Spirit. But sometimes it came up where I could just be like super cozy and have like 2 Cryoblasts in my hand and go, okay, Cryoblast.
Yeah, it came up for me actually where there was a point in the game where I never had to enchant with the second Frost, and I was able to use double Cryoblast, which was very nice. There was actually a game that I needed to resolve 2 Cryoblasts to be able to win.
Oh, that's
and so
crazy. Did you like do it to a Doppelganger or something?
I'm gonna be real again. It's all a blur. I don't remember. But I know I double Cryoblasted something to get it. I don't even know if it was enough to make it to like kill it. I think it was some. Gosh, I think it was like into PTA, and my guy was super small, so I had to double Cryo to get over the guy in defense. I don't know. All I know is I resolved double Cryo in 1 turn. So that's very happy we played double Frost Spirit, and I don't. Yeah,
it was good. It was good. So for the side deck, this is where our deck flies way off the rails. This is simultaneously one of the side decks that we've put the most thought and effort into, and also one of the worst side decks that we've ever built.
I like the side. I just think at the end of it, and we talked about it the night before too, where there was a couple cards where I'm like, I just feel like we don't need this. It's just we're just throwing it in for the sake of it.
Yeah.
But I genuinely liked our side, and there was just 2 cards I didn't feel like we needed, and at the end of the day, they were just last minute adds.
I already know which cards you're gonna say.
Yeah.
And it's not this card. So this is the card that started everything that makes our side deck look weird. Is we put in Lavalith. So the thought that we had, the whole theory was that we would take out the pups in the mirror, switch over to playing 5s, and just have Lavaliths to like come down, pop their guys, and like you can just swing at a werepup. Because like, what are they gonna do? Crash with you and like burn a bunch of cards? No. So you can like pop a backer and like force the werepup out. It pops the Zeus's, and it's also just removal against like weird decks, right? Like against like Vault Tempest, for example, you can just like prey on Earthquake Lavalith to clear that. It was a nice little roll compression guy, so we decided to play him. I don't know how you feel about this card, but this card was awful for me. I lost every game that I put this card in my deck.
Personally, I put it in a few times. The only game I actually saw it was the turn after I expended both of the Fire Spirits for damage, so sad. But there were a lot of points in a lot of games where I'm like, if I had top deck Lavalith right now, this thing is over. But I just never really got to see it at the times we were hoping to. It is a one-of. So, you know, it is what it is. That is the risk when you play the card like this, just like Earthquake or something. But conceptually, I still think it's solid. And I know Josh, who played the exact list as us, said it was broken for him all day, even though things didn't work out for him in the end.
Yeah, it's like, in theory, it was good, but I didn't draw it. You didn't draw it. This card sucked.
Yeah.
Speaking of another card that sucked, that I think you would also agree was probably the worst card in our deck, Arcolith. We played another Lith. I'm gonna be so real. This was here because Justin and I had Stellars.
Yeah, that was like 80% of the reason. So we needed a card that was good against Blizz, because you'll see in the side we did cut some things that we were originally playing for Blizz. But this is just a card in the Blizz matchup. There are so many times where they've basically did their best to wipe out everything, do as much damage as possible, and then they have 3, maybe even 4 guys on the field. And a lot of the times, there's just like a random Narpoon on the field, or a Snowlit or something, or a Morfrost guy, and you can just drop Arcolith, put 5 on it, punch over it, and that's game, because they burned themselves like crazy just to do what they did. And that was the kind of main point of the card. Also, it doubled as a side deck card against like the pure Thunder decks that are on like Olympus. So if ever we saw Olympus, now we could just throw out an 11 attacker essentially in that
I did
matchup.
play against Olympus as well.
Oh yeah,
I didn't draw it. They drew their Arcolith though. Like they drew their Arcolith, and thank God they played into Shield, because if they did not, I lost the game immediately. But yeah, it was there for Thunder and Blizz. I didn't even put it in against Blizz when I played Blizz. I'm gonna be so real. The only I don't know if you played this card, like if you dropped it on anybody. The only person I played this against was you, and I lost anyway.
Yeah. It was horrifying, I'll tell you that. And it's funny because after we played in Swiss, and you dropped it on me, it got me thinking, I'm like, should I be playing this card? Because that was scary. And then every time I played against a Lunar deck, I just left it. I'm like, no, this doesn't do what I need for this matchup. Yep. This is literally just for Thunder and just for Blizz. So it just sat there because
I was literally just trying to sack you. I drew it. It did its thing, and I still lost. And I was like, all right, this card's never coming in again. And it never did. The third whale, the third spec, they're back. Same reasons as before, just so that you can like swap into 5s post side. That was like the theory, as we were expanding on the previous theory where you like switch over to more of a 5 guys deck. I sided these a lot less than I did in the last tournament. I don't know about you, but I sided these way less.
I sided them pretty frequently. The third Specteris came in more often than the third Galaxy, but they both came in a lot.
That's crazy, because for me it was the exact opposite. I sided in the third whale a lot and like cut my specs completely like multiple times, just so I could go like, I'm just playing like this card ignores back row turbo and just like slam whales.
Yeah.
They're there for the same reasons as before. They're just beaters. If you thought we were done with one-ofs, we're not. We played the third Cryoblast, the third PTA, and the third Tsunami in the side.
Yeah.
Is there anything to say about these?
Bunch of we love one-ofs. No, okay, it looks very chaotic. But
half of our side deck was one-ofs.
I guess the way we thought of it was this card performs this role. And so it wasn't so much a one-of each card. It's that this many cards added up to this many specific X role cards we needed. So, for example, there were times where we would side out the PTAs and maybe you wanted the Tsunami in. Or, you know, there's a lot of interchangeable cards. Or maybe you're going first, so you want to max out.
And, like, these two come in, for example.
Right.
Or like we're going first and it's like, say we take out the Werepup engine, we take out the full moons. Okay, we put in these. Like,
right. It's just all
like
about being able to interchange cards for the matchups you're playing, but also when you're going first and going second, just increasing the likelihood of seeing those higher impact cards for the kind of game state you might want to be in, I guess.
Literally all these cards, like, they look like random one-ofs, but really we're just counting all of these cards as like functionally the same card. And it's just, we can't play a second copy of any of these because these two are at 1. The other 2 copies are in our main. The other 2 copies are in our main. And it's just like, okay, I guess we're playing a bunch of one-ofs now. Then for the rest of the side, we played 3 Hurricane. This card was awful.
No, you're crazy. The card's insane. It's the best card still. It's the one card I regret not having still in the main deck. It's still my favorite card. This card's just too ignorant. Even if it's not for a +1, it's not about that. It's just about saying, this card resolves. That means I get to do whatever I want this turn. There's nothing you can do about it. This card's insane. Obviously, we cut it from the main to make room for the Cryoblast this time around. But, yeah, I frequently sided these in, especially when I was going second.
I sided this in top 8 and did not draw it. Like, it filled its role in its top 8 match, like, because I had it in the matchup I wanted it for, which was Rogue. Right. Like, just a weird deck that, like, I wasn't ready for. But I didn't draw there. The only other time I sided this in, I sided in 2, drew both of them, activated both of them, and then lost. This card was awful. It was so bad. And I just never sided it in for the rest of the day. I was just like, whatever. Like, I don't need this. So, I don't know. For me, like, I don't think I'd cut this card because it fills its role and does what it needs to do. But it was just not good for me. Like, I did not need this card at all.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, for example, you had the experience where Lavalith was really bad for you throughout the tournament, and then Josh had it to where it was insane. Obviously, variance and matchups always play part. Situational when you see these cards. So for me, personally, I thought Hurricane was great. For you, it felt really bad. But at the end of the day, putting experience bias on it, at face value, Hurricane is just the most ignorant card conceptually, just being a card that says no matter what, this is about to go through. And for that reason, I'm not saying you have to play 3, but the card's definitely worth a slot.
Don't play 3. Don't play 3. This was the 15th slot, actually. And we were up so late trying to figure out what the last slot would be because this whole side deck was like predicated on like, we want to play Arcolith because we have the Stellar. So like this was a 2-of package. It's like, okay, if we put the Arcolith in the deck, what goes in this slot? And the only thing we could think of was another Hurricane. And just saying, like, if we play against a deck that looks scary, like Vol Tempest was the one that we were discussing. The game plan is you just side in your 3 Hurricanes and say, you probably need your counter runes to set up whatever you're trying to do. And if you don't have those, we will just, like, make it so that you can't ever get to your win condition because it's too scary to go for it. That was the theory.
Right.
Never happened. Like, I played against all mirror matches and like a Fire Nexus and a Blizzard. And then the last 2 were 2 Waxing Caboose. I hate this card because it won you the finals.
Oh, I love this card. I love this card.
You won 2 finals because of this card, Justin.
I know it's Waxing Gibbous. What can I say? You gotta love this card. It's so good.
I hate you so much. Why'd you have to have Zeus, man? This card was good. Real talk, I stopped siding in 2. Like, everything about this deck, like, we had planned out from the start, and then I stopped doing everything, like, midway through the day. I just started siding 1 in the mirror match, and just, like, putting in, like, the PTA, or, like, the Cryoblast, or, like, Tsunami, or something. I would just put in, like, 1 Gibbous, because, like, if I needed it, I would search it.
Yeah, no, for sure. For me, I noticed I always had 1 copy in the deck in the Lunar matchups. The only times I ever would have 2 is when I knew I was going first, because Tsunami's like really crazy, but like for me, it was always like, I'm going to be like struggling with galaxies and like they're going to be poking with rabbits and all I'm doing is putting them back in defense for me to have to deal with. So I didn't want that to be the go-to scenario. So I tried to keep it diverse in the cards that were in there. But But going second, I always kept at least one copy, like you mentioned, as a search target.
The thing that I did is I started putting the PTAs back in the mirror over the, like, instead of doing like 2 waxing gibbous when I go first, one of those waxing gibbuses would go back into like a PTA, and I'd have like 2 PTA plus waxing in the main. Whereas I think you just cut PTA completely, right?
No, when I went first, I had 3 PTA.
Oh my god, you had 3 PTA and 2 waxing?
Going first? Yeah.
Oh my god, you're saying.
Because I would cut a shield, so I wasn't on 3 shield.
The last cards on our side were just spirits. These for Lavalith, these cards are awful. And then this for Hurricane, this card was awful.
These were all broken.
Because Justin's lying. These cards suck. This card sucks. This card, I hate you, Justin. This card sucks. This card was really funny and bad, but expensive, so we played it. I think that these were like the only 6 real cards on my side. Those cards are all whatever.
No.
This was my side deck.
For me personally, all it was the last minute 3rd Hurricane, which I thought we didn't need, but it was just the last minute thing. And then I was never really sold on the Arcolith, but
neither was I. I was forcing it. I was forcing it because I bought this and like I have to justify owning the thing. Please get this out of my possession. All right, that was the deck. Any closing thoughts? Oh yeah, shoutouts to Kevin. Shoutouts to Coder. He played the same deck as us, and then he's side questing right now, so he wasn't part of the video. But he got top 4.
I think his list was a little different. I think it was more closer to our like traditional list that we had for the first time round.
It was, yeah.
I think he made some last minute changes in the evening.
I have no clue what he did because I thought that he had like logged off at like 8 p.m. And then we wake up in the morning. He's like, "Yeah, I was up until 4 a.m. building the deck." And it's like, "Where were you?" like what? He's like, "Oh, I was out, and I came home and I built the deck." I'm like, "Oh." So shout out
to Kevin. Love you, Kev.
Love you. This deck's awful. This deck, we've won 2 back-to-back premieres with this, and I hate this deck. Like, I want to play Blitztrix. All right, end of video. Bye bye.
Bye bye.